These are the 5 most profitable niches on YouTube. Number 5, fashion.
When I first see N8WEALTH shorts like that, they look impossible to create, especially on your phone. But here's the secret. If you want to figure out how somebody creates something, just look at it one frame at a time. Right here we have the first few seconds of Nate's open for that video. And if I just go one frame at a time, like there's a frame of white, another frame of white, 2 frames of white, easy enough. Then I just go to the next frame and I see that I've got several elements. If you look right here, we've got a sky and some grass. We've got a hand and we've got these little pieces of paper with writing on them. So we have all those elements. And as we go through this whole video, we can see, we've got this bag of money we need. We've got a YouTube logo. We got some YouTubers and we've got some mesh and some other mesh and a chick and a disco ball and some text. And that's all of it. But you have to actually create all of those elements, and lucky for you, I created all of them, some of them with AI, some of them with CapCut's AI, some with Photoshop's AI, and then of course for the hand, I just photographed my hand for you, and I've given you all these elements. They are linked in the description down below, so what you can do is just go there right now, download them for free, then you can follow along with me as we recreate N8WEALTH's open for that short. And here's another kind of secret. Most of these fancy animated graphic looking things that look so complicated mostly consist of cutting things out and moving them on the screen. So if you can get good at those, you're gonna be way ahead of the game. By the way, it's 8:38 p.m. on a Saturday night, and I just had my first shower in 2 days because pretty much all I do is make videos for you guys. So if you could hit that subscribe button down there, show me a little love, I'd be grateful. Now let's recreate the open for this N8WEALTH short. Let's jump into CapCut. First thing I'm gonna do is name this so we can find it in the future. With nothing selected in the timeline, you get this details window that opens. We click on modify, and we just wanna give this a name. So we're gonna say N8WEALTH 3. And by the way, this free layer should always be turned on. If it's not on, turn it on. It is the reason you can't move text between layers. A lot of you have that question. It's like, I can't move my text. You gotta make sure the free layer is on before you start your project. You want to go ahead and change the frame rate to 30. Not that it's the one true frame rate, that's just the frame rate that N8WEALTH used in his video, and to match his, it's gonna make it much easier if we just change ours to 30, so bam, 30 frames a second. Now hit save. Next, we're gonna move this guy out of the way, and look, when I move this out of the way, and I'm leaving it on the timeline so I can reference it when I'm trying to figure stuff out, notice when I move it out of the way, it just snaps back, and that's kind of annoying unless you're just doing initial trim. So to make that not happen, we're gonna click this button right here. You can also hit the P key to turn off the main track magnet. And now when I bring it over here, look, it just stays like it's supposed to. So to get a couple frames of white here, we could go into library and try to find some white down here, and there's some stuff that could easily work. But here's a hack. You can take any image, any video or whatever, just drag to the timeline, and it's like, oh no, it's red, it's the wrong color. All you do is you have to make sure, by the way, that it's on the first track. This won't work if it's on a track above it. So down here, if I scroll down under Video Basic, I can see Canvas. And I can say, I want a color, and then I can choose the color. I want it to be white. So now, if I make this thing invisible by jumping up here to, say, opacity, whoop, now I've got white. But just remember that when I put it up on this layer, it doesn't work. It just went away. That whole canvas thing is gone. It's got to be down here on the very first layer for this canvas feature to work. And I can make it, any color I want. And it's got some other funky stuff down here as well. If we open that palette up, it's got more than just color. It's got styles and brand backgrounds and all kinds of fun stuff. Look at these styles. You can do all kinds of junk to have a background just built in. Downloading, bam. That could be your background. But we don't need that. All we want is white. So I'm just going to go back here to color, choose white. There's a background. It's ready to rock. I'm just going to make this 2 frames long. Let's drag it over here. Bam. Okay, we've got these 2 frames of white here, but you might notice that this is widescreen. We want this to be a vertical video for shorts. So we're gonna just click on ratio, scroll down to 9:16. That's the right aspect ratio for shorts. We can start adding elements to the timeline. Let's go ahead and add the blue sky down here and put the hand right on top of it. And we're gonna set keyframes for both of these because we want them to move over time. So first, let's make the sky the right size just by clicking and dragging it up and having it fill the frame. And the hand, we want the hand to be small, starting at the bottom right about there. So that's kind of the starting position for these guys. Then they're gonna zoom in. So I'm gonna set a keyframe for scale and position for the hand, and scale and position for the sky. And then I'm gonna zoom in quite a bit because I like to see what's going on when I'm doing this. and have a really clear view, and I can see frame by frame where I am here. So we want to go forward probably about 4 frames, about there. Then we want to scale these guys up. So the hand's going to scale up, I don't know, about that much, and kind of move up about there. Actually, it's going to be bigger. It's going to scale up a lot where those guys start to go off the screen. And then this is also going to scale up quite a bit. So I'm going to scale it, but I want to keep the grass down there visible. So that's probably pretty good right there. So far it would look like that. The next thing we want to do is soften the landing because it's really harsh and it's softer in his video. So to soften the landing, we right click and we choose Show Keyframe Animation, and we modified all of these properties. So we just need to add curves to all of them. And the easiest way to do that, I'm just going to zoom out on the timeline a little bit so I can see all the stuff over here. Easiest way to do that is just one at a time. Double click on this space here, click on this keyframe so it's highlighted, and just click on this auto curve. Now we have more fancy curves here, but we're not going into that in this tutorial. And I hit this left arrow to go back to that first keyframe. Then I do that for all 3 of these. Now I'm going to right click on this and choose Hide Keyframe Animation. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the hand. With all the curves added, it looks like this. By the way, I'm going to show you that again because we're going to be doing a lot of that. I'm just going to fast forward so you don't have to watch every single time, but I'm going to show you a couple tricks to make it go faster. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit and just play that first few frames. Looks like that. That's pretty close to what he did. The only thing I do different is I think he had the hand up a little higher. So I'm just going to position my playhead on this keyframe by hitting this back arrow right here and just bring this guy up a little bit higher like that. It's going to be closer to what Nate's was, and now it looks like this. Now Nate has a lot happening very quickly in this video. We are at frame 6 and we already have 3 elements. We're about to add our 4th element, which is one of those little notes that he had there. So I'm just going to go back. I'm going to click on all and open up this folder called Notes, and I'm just going to drag it down to the timeline here, and it's the most profitable. His weren't as visible, but mine are a little more visible. And I'm just going to position it where I want it to go, and then I'm going to position all of them. That one's at 6 frames. The next one, I'm just going to scroll over to 12 frames. And how do you know what frame it is? You don't have to count. You can just look and go, oh, we're at 12 frames right here. I'm going to add most here and scale it down to about where I want it to go. At 19 frames, we have profitable. And I'm giving these numbers so that you can do it and it'll match, because if you're trying to guess frames and stuff, it's going to be really, really cumbersome. So just go ahead and match what I do and you'll get the same result. And lastly, around frame 27, we're going to add the word niche right here. And bam, we have all of these guys that look like this. And I'm going to scale this guy so he fits. And he's in the background, so he should be maybe a little bit smaller than the other ones because that finger's a little farther away. Now, they pop on okay, which is fine, but Nate had them animate on. So we could manually keyframe these guys, and his were doing like crazy things, but let's just do our own thing and use the features built into CapCut to make this easier. So for each one of these, I'm just going to go over to Animation, choose In, and find something that's, kind of fun. And one that kind of looks like Nate's is this rotating one here. So I'm just going to double click on it. It adds it to the clip down here. And it made it 1 second long. That's too fast. I'm just going to take this slider and slide it to the left a little. Now we could add the same one to all of them if we wanted, or we could do something more fun. And there's some much more fun versions than that of this animation in. So we can go ahead and try, I don't know, how about Shake 3? I like that. And let's just add Shake 3 to the rest of them, and we'll make them all about 0.3 seconds like this. And that's a free filter. Hopefully it's available in your area. And that looks pretty good, right? Boom, boom, boom. Bam. So really quickly, in a few seconds, we can have these things animating on without messing with all those pesky keyframes, which kind of takes forever. Next, at around 101, we want that money bag to come in. So I'm going to position my playhead at 101. I can see that it's 101 right there. I'm going to go back here and click on all and choose open. And here's our money sack. Guess where I made that? You guessed it. I made this guy right within CapCut's AI in the mobile version, because that's where you can create that in the mobile version. And this, I want it to be bigger, and I want it to kind of fall on his hand right there, right? But how do we get it behind his thumb? We're going to learn that in a second too. So we're going to animate this cache so it falls and then falls some more with the hand. Here's what we do. And at 105, we're going to add a thumb so we can cover this, because you may have noticed in Nate's version that it looked like it was in his hand. How do I do that? Well, we position the bag about where we want it to go, and then at around 105, which is where we are now, we just add the thumb. And how'd you get the thumb? Well, I cut it out in Photoshop, but there are other apps like Photopia in which you can do things like this to cut things out in detail like that. Then we got to scale it up. And if you wonder, oh, how do I make it match that thumb behind there? Well, I can look at the other thumb way down here and look at the size and go, oh, it's 149. And there's the position too, if I can remember that. So I can click here and take this up to 149. It'll be the right size. And if it's hard to dial it in exactly, you can just click these arrows up, 48, 49. Now it's exactly the right size. And then I can just position it right here over it. Let's just make sure it's right. 144 minus 1616. Let's go ahead and click on this guy. 148 minus 1601. So to make it exact, 148 minus 1601. And then I can just type in there as well. And now I know it's exactly precise. And look at this. Watch this. As soon as that thumb's there, it looks natural. And it's going to look natural because the bag is going to fall right into it. So you just wait. Now the money bag starts out of frame up here at, bam, like right there. And so we're just going to set a keyframe for it here for, I think let's do position and scale in case we have to do both. So there's scale, there's position, and it lands right here, bam, on where the thumb appears. So we're just going to drag it all the way down to here, and look at that. It like landed right in his hand. It's kind of magical, don't you think? Like, bam, it's in his hand. And now we want all of these things to move together. How do I make the hand, these little notes, and that bag all move together? Well, I'm going to show the entire timeline. The way I did that was by hitting Shift-Z. Move this a little bit closer so I can see more of the timeline at once when I hit Shift-Z. I'm going to cut the ends of all these guys off just by highlighting them all and selecting this guy right here. Slice those guys, and I'm going to delete all of them. See if I got them all. Missed one. Bam, I'll slice that guy too. It's better to make a composition like this longer than shorter. We're about to make this into one clip. It's better to make it longer than shorter because if you run out of stuff, if this thing was too short, like say this guy was too short and I made a compound clip out of it, it's like, oh, suddenly one of these guys would go away, and that's bad. So better to make it longer than shorter. And we don't need this much, but we're going to keep it this long. And I'm going to turn these into a compound clip so I can animate them all together. To do that, I'm going to select all of them except for the sky. Right click, and I'm going to choose Create Compound Clip. Now with this clip nested, we can move it all together. So we're just going to go over to like 105, add a keyframe for position and scale. Then you go forward to like 108 and have all these guys dip together. Watch this. If I click and drag it, it's going to add another keyframe as I dip together just about like that. And that looks like this. Boom, it goes down, and we want it to rebound back up. So let's go to say frame 12 and have it rebound up to where it started. And that looks like this. And that's actually not bad. Then we're going to about frame 121 right here and have everything leave the frame completely, like in Nate's video. Bam-a-rama. Now, it looks like this, which is okay, but it's a little bit jerky. It's too linear, so what do? We add curves. Now, you don't have to add curves for scale, x-axis, and y-axis. Scale is size, x-axis side to side, y is up and down. The only thing we changed here is the y-axis, so let's just go ahead and add curves to the y-axis. To do that, right-click on the clip and choose Show Keyframe Animation, or hit the keystroke Option K. And now we see all those, but we don't need to worry about scale X, we just need Y. So for each of these Y keyframes, the up and down keyframes, we're just going to add the curve. So I'm just going to use this arrow over here to get to the keyframe and be positioned on it. And now I'm going to double click on this guy, click on it. When it's blue, I can add a curve. If it's not blue, you can't tweak it. So I'm going to add the curve for this guy. Then I'm going to click on this next guy, add the keyframe, click on the next one, add the keyframe, and click on the next one, add the keyframe. You don't have to have the playhead over it, you just have to have it be blue. And then I'm going to right click on this guy and choose Hide Keyframe Animation. And it should look a little cooler. Let's have a look. It looks not too bad. When we're done with all of this, we're going to add some motion blur, which will kind of sell all of it much better. Next at around 119, the YouTube logo starts to appear. So let's go back to all so we can see our folders. Now sometimes this is so small that you forget, like, where's all my other stuff? You just click on all right here. And here's YouTuber folder, and there's my YouTubers I'm going to use in a minute. We just want this YouTube logo to appear right here. And this thing is really big. It takes up about that much space. So we've already scaled it up. And this doesn't enter the scene with motion, this enters the scene with opacity. So it starts at 0 opacity. We're going to scroll down to opacity here, set a keyframe, take it down to 0, move forward about 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, and have the opacity go all the way up to 100. So you can see that this kind of just fades up just like that. And right about here, as this is fading up, this guy, we called it fashion, and I actually found, I think, the exact same video that N8WEALTH used in his video. This guy appears on screen, so I think he's something like that. Actually, I think he appears about like that, and then he drops and bounces. Let's go ahead and animate him. He starts right here, and then he goes down a few frames, and then he rebounds all the way back up. So I'm going to make sure he's highlighted. I'm on the first frame. I'm going to just click the position keyframe because he doesn't really change size. And we're going to go forward 4 frames, and we're going to take him down. From this point, he starts to go more slowly up to around 221. So I'm just going to drag him up about where he ends in Nate's video. And notice that it added a keyframe automatically because I already had a keyframe set for that property. And again, you don't have to watch, but I'm going to just add that curve. Well, I'll show you the first one. I'm going to add the curve to the y-axis because that's the only property we modified. Show keyframe animation, double click on Y, click on each of these keyframes, and just go like this. One thing you may have issues with is clicking on this first guy to get him to be blue. I can't click him. What do? You just click on this arrow right here. To click on the left arrow, 1, 2, 3, bam, we're on that one. Now we can go ahead and add that Y curve to this guy and close this. And right now it looks like this. Looks a little weird, but again, motion blur and all the other stuff happening on top of it is going to help. I know this is a lot, and I don't know if you want me in future videos to show you every keyframe I add or just show it once and kind of fast forward through it. So let me know in the comments how you'd like me to do it. I'm going to try to do a balance in this video. Next, at about frame 204, let's add Matt Diavella right here. And you'll notice that in Nate's video, Matt was much bigger, so we can just scale him up. And he was kind of only on half the screen right over here. And he was also at the top, and it's like, oh no, he's at the top. I can't get to anywhere. How do I get to him? You just go down here to this magnifying glass, and you just zoom out a little bit so you have access. Oh, whew, he's not gone forever. Now we're going to set a keyframe right here at the beginning for both position and scale. Move forward to about frame 211 here, and then drag him down to the bottom like that. Then go forward maybe 2 frames, 1, 2, add another keyframe so he stays still for a second. And then we're going to have him rebound slowly till about 222. And since there's a keyframe there, I'm just going to drag him up. So he'll slowly be going up like so. And I'm going to add that curve to the y-axis, the up and down one more time. I'm just going to do it for you, the first one. Then you guys can do the rest on your own. Right click, show keyframe animation, double click on Y. Select a keyframe and select the curve and do the same thing for the rest. Next, we want to add Ali Abdal. So I'm just going to click and drag Ali. And Ali was much bigger and he was off to one side like that, I believe. So we're going to set a keyframe for position. The only property that's going to change, we're going to go to 224. And at 224, he's going to be right down, I don't know, about like that. But in the beginning, he's going to be at the top, so we're just going to go back to that first keyframe and drag him right back up here to the top. And that should look pretty good. Looks like this. Doesn't look great because we don't have those curves, so I'm just going to add those Y curves. You don't have to watch. At 221, Eamon Gadji enters the scene, so I'm just going to click and drag him down here. And Eamon was much bigger, so we're going to make him really big. And he did come from the top, but guess what? He had something else above him. He had a grid on him. And I was trying to find a grid online that I could use without copyright, and I was having trouble, so I just made you one so you guys have access to 3 grids to use forever without fear of copyright. So we're just going to go back to all, click on my grids folder here, and we want the transparent one. We only need one of these other ones, but you have them all for your future use, for your personal library. We're going to make this grid much bigger. And I'm just going to animate the grid and Eamon separately so they kind of slam down independent of each other. I'm going to set keyframes for both of them for both position and scale. Then go forward about 226 and set another keyframe for position and scale for both of them. Then I'm going to go back to that first keyframe and drag both of these guys up to the top. See that blue line? That's trying to keep it centered for me. It kind of snaps into place. And I'll do that for Eamon as well. Just drag him up there. Because Eamon wasn't centered, I don't get that blue line, so I got to be a little more careful. And I can manually adjust these if I want, but it should be okay like that. And now they both come down together, and then they start to zoom back. So I'm going to click on the grid and jump to around 306 and scale the grid back a little bit just by adjusting this scale slider over here, and do the same thing for Eamon. I'll adjust him back a little bit too, like that. Next, at 3 seconds, we're going to add this white grid. It's going to drag it down here, and the white grid starts at an angle, so I'm just going to angle it, and it starts really big like this. And it also starts rather transparent, completely transparent. So we want it to be angled. We can use this thing over here to angle it so it's a little more perfectly angled like that. I think that's about how it was. Starts pretty big. We'll make it even bigger like that. And then over the course of just a few frames, it goes and gets even smaller. So I'm going to scale it down a little bit. It gets considerably smaller, actually. But it also starts transparent and becomes opaque. And look at that. I forgot to set a keyframe, but since I'm here in the right place at 306, I'm just going to set a keyframe for it there for scale. And I'm going to go back to the beginning and just scale it back up like that. Bam. And notice that it set a keyframe automatically. It looks like that. And we want to go ahead and make it go transparent as well. So I'm going to set a keyframe for opacity here and go to the beginning. And I'm just going to drag this down to nothing. And then we get this. Bam. And that looks, I think, pretty good, right? And then right at 306, we get our disco ball girl. Now I'm going to go over here into all and click on disco ball Jen. You might say, Jen who? Well, I couldn't find that exact disco ball girl that he did. So I had AI create, you recognize her, Jennifer Lawrence for us. That was one option. And that was the other better option. And this was created in CapCut AI. And you might have noticed on my channel that I have featured Jennifer Lawrence once or twice. That's because, okay, I got a thing for Jennifer Lawrence. She's adorable. What red-blooded man doesn't have a thing for Jennifer Lawrence? You like Jennifer Lawrence? She's adorable. So let's go ahead and add Jennifer right here at 307. She starts really big, like that, maybe even bigger than that, and over here somewhere. And we're going to set a keyframe for position and scale, and then until we get to around 313 and position her about right there. That was kind of jarring, so I'm going to add curves for all those properties. You don't have to watch. Our disco girl starts to move to the right a little bit and ends up at around 404 or so. So we're just going to move her around like that, just a tiny bit. And of course, I'll go ahead and add a curve to that as well. The last element we're going to add is text. So starting at 312, we're going to take the default text, add it here, stretch it out so we've got enough of it, and we're going to type in number 5, fashion, which is the 5th most profitable niche according to N8WEALTH. I'm going to highlight all of it. We're going to change it to any font you want, but Babus New is pretty close to what Eamon Gadget was using. Let's just scale it up. And Eamon had a pretty decent sized drop shadow on it, so we're going to scroll down to shadow, make the opacity be all the way up, and turn some of that blurriness down. I think it was a pretty harsh shadow, and we'll angle it away a little bit there. So that looks pretty dang good. Maybe increase the blurriness a tiny, tiny bit. You may have noticed that Nate's shadow looked like this, where you could kind of see through it. So how do we do that? Well, that's simply a different blend mode, and we don't have any blend modes here other than adjusting the opacity. So we kind of have to fake it. To fake this, and this is kind of a good trick, make sure the opacity is all the way up. If something doesn't work, you want to add a special effect to text and the option's not there, all you do is create a compound clip. So just right click on it, create a compound clip. Now it thinks it's a video or a regular image. It doesn't know it's text anymore. And look at this, magically, these blend modes appeared. And the blend mode that works best is overlay right here. And bam, it looks pretty similar to what Eamon's got going on with his. And we had that thing popping up and then dropping down. So let's just do that real quick. I'll animate it. You don't even have to watch. Now let's just clean it up by deleting this junk. I'm just going to hit Command B, Control B on a PC, delete that. I'm going to delete this. Let's look at it right now without motion blur, and it's going to look a little bit jerky maybe. It looks like this. I'll make it big for you. Ideally, I would export this and then re-import it and add motion blur in CapCut. But CapCut Motion Blur has been really hit and miss. In fact, yesterday didn't work at all. Today it's trying to work but doesn't look great. So if I just drag this exported clip of all of this stuff, exported, brought it back on the timeline, I would simply click on it and scroll down to motion blur and mess with it, and it would it just looks all wonky here, so it's not really usable now. They'll probably have an update that'll fix it, but right now it's not great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some sound effects, add some motion blur to the program, and show you the finished masterpiece in T-1 second. These are the 5 most profitable niches on YouTube. Number 5, fashion. There has never been a better time to grow on YouTube, but there are 2 things holding you back right now if you're not seeing the growth you want. The first one is that you haven't mastered editing yet. And the other one is that you are completely skipping the things that actually get you views and subscribers, and you're not even aware. I can solve both of your problems and help you literally skip almost 20 years of trial and error with my new course, Master CapCut. In my course, I teach you everything you need to know about CapCut, getting you on the path to becoming an editing wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Imagine being able to figure out on your own what I shared with you in this video. Secondly, in section 2 of my course, I teach you how I went from this is day 1 when I started this YouTube channel, April 21, 2018, 1 view on my video. I went from that, and about 200 videos later, I started doing this. And this is only a few months ago, so I am new. If you're new, like I just started implementing the things I teach you in section 2, and I literally went from getting, a few thousand views a day with 200 videos on my channel, and now I'm getting 5,000, 4,000, 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 18,000 views every single day on my channel. And my subscribers, same thing happened. Remember the beginning right here? Months and months, for years I was getting nothing. Then I started implementing the things I teach you in section 2 of my course, and bam, now I'm getting hundreds of subscribers every day. And this is live stuff. I've got nothing to hide from you. Here is the last 28 days where you get a better take on it, where I'm getting 286, 367, 315. It just keeps going up and up because of the things I teach you in section 2 of my course. I guarantee you can do exactly the same thing, or you get all your money back, no questions asked. If you want results like I'm getting right now on YouTube, please go to mastercapcut.com or click on the link in the description below right now. Since you're still watching this video, I'm guessing you are above average, so the odds of you blowing up on YouTube are probably quite high. As you probably know, you need 1,000 subscribers to get monetized on YouTube, so this is the perfect opportunity for you to make more money from YouTube and set yourself up to become a full-time YouTuber. Doesn't matter what your background or niche is, what I share with you works in every niche faster than anything I've ever seen. If you don't get results, you get your money back, no questions asked. I can't wait to see you crush YouTube and make your goals of YouTube success come true. So please go to the link in the description below or click right here and sign up right now. You quite literally have absolutely nothing to lose. You will become an editing wizard and your channel will grow, or you get your money back. If that doesn't interest you, please watch this video because YouTube knows that's what you're looking for.